I got the new steering fork for the rudder in the mail yesterday, and I got it out the package and cleaned it up and powder coated it last night, and I mounted it up in the rudder today. Got a couple bolts on there. Now if anybody has any questions as to which way that fork goes on that rudder, I would think that those ears went forward on it so you'd have more throw on it, because the chain comes back off of that fork back to the tail wheel for the steering, and if it was farther forward you'd have more leverage on it or more stroke on it. But if it's on the forward position, then it runs into the pad there for the tail wheel spring. Well, I ran into that. I wound up having to take that off and turn it around, but it's on there now. I've got the pins in the rudder. The rudder is mounted up on there. Well, it's not totally mounted up yet. I got the pins in. I don't have the washers or the cotter pins in yet. I just got the pins in, got that all lined up, and I haven't got the rudder cables hooked up yet. That doesn't take much to do that, and then that thing is installed. I've still got to deal with the wire, the hookup for the aft position light and the beacon, but I'm not going to do that till I get those inspection covers finished, because I have to punch a hole in the inspection cover and figure out a grommet in there. I'm going to run that cable into that inspection hole there, and I'm going to put a grommet through that inspection cover. Probably put a plug in there on that cable, on that wire, on the inside of the fuselage there where it's out of the weather. Got some solid grommets that I can just punch a hole in, just smaller diameter than what that wire is, and then when it goes through there it'll seal up pretty tight. There we go, the rudder is on. So the tail is pretty much back together. The rudder's on, horizontal stabilizers are on, elevators are on, ready to fly. I went ahead and hooked those rudder cables up, dug out the hardware for them and everything, and I've got them hooked up. I had set all this stuff on the tail up before I ever covered it. I had put the rudder on and set it up for the correct angles for the travel on the rudder, and made up the rudder cables to fit. Got them centered so that the travel on it was right. Same thing with elevators and a horizontal stabilizer. I did all that, all the cables and everything, and rigging up before I ever covered any of that stuff. I was kind of worried about some of it, how it was going to turn out after I got it covered and put together, and it all come out pretty close. Well, it's perfect, as close to perfect as you could expect, I guess. The rudder went on there and it works just fine, and the rudder cables, the rudder pedals are centered up front the way they're supposed to be. The rudder centers with the rudder pedals even, cables travel perfect, all that works. I was kind of worried about these gussets here, these little leatherette gussets that I got and put on there. I'd put those on kind of blind. I used the dimensions off of the drawings for the Piper. I think it's a P821. Anyway, the drawings that I had are available on the internet. Those came out just perfect. They couldn't be any better. Those cables come through those gussets right through where they're supposed to. That all worked out great. Oh, I'm really happy with that.